尊敬的各位嘉宾、
guests.
各位朋友，大家上午好。非常高兴能参加今天的朗迪金融科技峰会。
Summit 2017 is named as China's financial technology's first year. It is also global fintech's explosive year. In this kind of moment, LangDi Fintech Summit and 2016. Since its landing in Shanghai city since last year, it again provided our industry opportunity for exchange of idea and inspiration of our intelligence. This, no doubt, is abundant knowledge delivered the industrial banquet. It's gathered new models, new idea collision of this fintech industry. For the development of the industry, this meeting has important meaning. Yesterday, we already had some of the important guests and industrial leaders who delivered the speeches. Today, we will have extremely splendid presentations. Here, I also tell you that in this afternoon, China-Europe Lujiazui International Finance Research Institute will also, for financial technologies regulation and policy, give some seminar. The PBoC Financial Research Institute Director Sun Guofeng, that is one of the keynote speakers of yesterday afternoon, and I myself will give a special topic presentation. We will circle around the post-regulatory eras, the cash and loans issue, and the fintech talents cultivation, and the Chinese service industry's reforms. We'll give some speech. You know that fintech is one part of the service industry. We will have a roundtable discussion about this topic. We hope you, at the moment, can take part in this meeting. Just to use this opportunity of delivering the opening speeches, I have to share with you one point, which is about my opinion about the current newest fintech data and my thinking about it. Because of time limit, I will put it in a simple way in 2 points. The first point is, my idea is currently our nation's economic running is stable, but we still cannot say it has already entered into a new growth circulation. This is the first point for me. Of mine, our data in June has already been published to a big extent, but still there are several data which is not disclosed yet. For example, GDP. If we don't disclose the GDP, then investment and consumption, import and export, a lot of this data and the percentage cannot be obtained by us. Maybe it's tomorrow or the day after tomorrow it will be released, because it is GDP. It is quarterly statistics. It's not monthly. All over the world it is quarterly, because it is based on half-year circulation. So GDP's statistic is rather complicated. So it seems they set a timeline for disclosure of it. It's maybe today, maybe tomorrow in my memory, but maybe it's not. From those data which is already released, in general, it's optimistic. For example, our Zhongcai, China's procurement center, that is our national PMI indexes, is 51.7%, increased 0.5% month on month. 1.7% higher YOY. So this is second highest point in this year. Why PMI is got the attention of so many people? Not only Chinese people pay attention to it, all over the world is paying attention to it, because the so-called PMI, to some extent, it's a subjective value. It's not totally according to complete objective statistics. they invite all the entrepreneurs to fill in a series of questionnaire, answer series of questions to answer their opinion about the status quo and the future, talking opinions about the development prospect of their own enterprise, asking about their idea. So it will be disclosed very early. Every month, the first day it can feel. In China, we have axiom: if the spring rivers water is warm, the duck will know. Those enterprises, they understand everything. They are in the frontier. So if the PMI is 50%, so this is a deadline. If it is exceeded 50%, that means the economy is going down. But if it is going up, if it is lower than 50%, it's lower. It's going lower. It means the economy is going lower. Now, not only we are over 50%, we are even higher than the last month. PMI is divided into manufacturing and non-manufacturing. Non-manufacturing, mainly, I mean, the service industry, our commercial activity indexes is also at a very high position. The data which you just disclosed is 54.95%. This is rather high, has 0.4% higher than last month, 1.2% higher than last year's same time point. In the PMI, it is consisted of a lot of, which is at least 15 indexes. I have to ask you, for example, you feel the employment will be how like? For example, you feel the order of production will be how like? You feel the inventory of the commodity will be how like? You feel the price of the labor force will be how like? This is a series of the questions. Some of the main indexes are, for example, the production indexes, the new orders index, new export order indexes, and those in-hand orders. This is one of the main risks of wind direction index. All these wind direction indexes can disclose the next circulation, the following 1 or 2 months direction. If you have the order, you can investment, you can produce. So this is very important. It's also reliable. Then this relatively is a market indexes. The data created by this kind of indexes shows to be very optimistic, going toward a good direction. Because of the time limit, I will not put too much energy here. If the inventory of the finished products is reducing, so we have that means we have the potential and space for refill those inventories. It's also index showing the economy will go upward. In the May, the industrial added value. It's also important value. It is maintained at 6.5%, the same as April, and it is also the recent 6 years high point. There's also another index is industrial potential index. Is industrial pre-profit. It's also important value. It has a YOY increase by 16.7%. Definitely, there are top reasons here, including, for example, after this capacity reduction, the SOE, their profitability has a big increase. Anyway, its number is very good. It increased by 2.7% compared with April. Another thing is our import and export. This is also important. In June, our manufacturing PMI, import and export are also going upward. The new export order and the import indexes are respectively 1.3% and 1.2% higher than last month, respectively. These kind of figures are the answers of those entrepreneurs. Well, in these entrepreneurs' answers, I have a look on that compared with those performances. Which is in statistically of the customer, they are very similar. So that means this number is reliable because all the numbers from the customers they are true. But for this kind of enterprise data, that's through the survey. How many enterprises we have surveyed? About 4,000. So for the export, it's also good. In June, our export amount had YOY growth of 11.3%, respectively 3% and 17.5% 8.9% compared with last month and last year. For the import, this kind of YOY growth rate is even faster, that is 17.2%, respectively compared with the same time point of last month and last year, 2.7% and 21.6%. So you can discover in recent period, from the growth rate point of view, our import growth rate is higher than the acceleration of export, but still our trade is in surplus. Why? Still surplus because of our basic lines issue. So from the quantity, our export amount is much bigger than our import, and there's a big gap between them. So although our import this acceleration, the growth rate is higher than growth rate of export, but our trade is still in surplus. This means that our internal demand still is very big. So that you can see the result that the export growth rate is higher than the growth rate of the export. So just because that the RMB's exchange rate is stable, our foreign reserve are continuously increasing. Our RMB's exchange rate against the US dollars reached between 6.7 to 6.8. Our foreign exchange reserve has consecutive 5 years coming back, totally reached 3.06 trillion US dollars. For the audience here and the friends from media may be asking me, last year our exchange rate of RMB and the foreign exchange reserve pressure was big. This happened after October. The biggest pressure was at the end of last year and January and February of this year. You remember October the 3rd last year, the Caixin annual meeting was convened in Beijing City. In this annual meeting, I mentioned about 2 ideas which got the big shock and the big responses from society. What are the 2 ideas of mine? I just at the moment said our nation's market interest, maybe interest rate may increase. I said in certain condition, if condition is okay and the situation needed, and we can also increase the interest rate. The so-called interest rate increasing doesn't mean that there's a deposit and the loans interest rate increase. It's because our financial market interest is increasing. Now it's proved that my idea is right. From last year's October until now, our market interest rate is always increasing. When it's growing in a fast moment, it grows by 1%. And 10 years, the national bond reached 3.7 to 3.8%. Now it's about 3.5 to 3.6%. It's always increasing. So I can conclude like this. Why this time? The Federal Reserve has 2 consecutive increase of the interest. After several hours, we follow them increase our interest rate. But in June, when the Federal Reserve had some interest rate, but we don't have any kind of action on that. We don't have any action. We didn't increase our interest rate. A lot of reasons. I think one of the reasons is that, in fact, our market interest rate had already been increased in advance. We are in front of them. For example, United States, the Federal Reserve said that they will shrink their, but they didn't do it. I said that PBoC will not, like the Federal Reserve, I will not mention about the specific. I said if we definitely should sort it out, maybe because of the foreign reserves percentage increase, we already shrink this. This is the first reason. Second reason, we don't have those issue of Federal Reserves. They have 4 times of those quantified loosening until 2007. Their balance sheet is 890 billion US dollars, less than 500 billion US. But after 4 years, 2014, its balance sheet it's 4.5 trillion US dollars. In 4 years, it increased by how many percentage? It was 5 times. So it procured the amount of those security rights, the assets, or in a quotation, the so-called those securitized assets. If the United economy enter into a stable stage, if they try to increase, if they can increase interest, they would increase the interest rate. If economic situation is not good, they will slow down. But we are totally same, the country. In China's PBoC's balance sheet, we increased by 2.85 times but the United States Federal Reserve, they increased by 5 times. So we don't have any kind of issue of 缩表. This is what we have mentioned to you. Definitely, we should, in a more accurate way, judge the economic situation. We should look into the July. Why? I have to tell you a situation. Now, we are so optimistic. Everyone is so optimistic. We think that the economic data is good. When we judge the economic situation, it's just like if the data is very good, everyone is optimistic. If economic is not good, everyone is pessimistic. In fact, we should not do like this. The data of June is generally very good. We should look into the July data. Last year was also this. Last year's June. It's a time all the economic indexes are poor. You can see last year, this gap is highest in history. Last year's June, our YY growth is as far as 2.4%. Our MI's growth rate was 10.2%. These two have a gap of 15.2%. This shows that those enterprises they hold their money and speculate and have a very cautious investment. But from the August and September, the economy gets better and better. So we should wait for the data for the July and August. If after the disclosure of data of July or August, the data is good, that means that we are continuously going towards good direction. This May, our fixed asset investment had a cumulated growth of 8.6%. Reduced by 0.3% compared with the former 4 months of this year. And from the investment structure, our real estate investment is the main driver. Had a YY growth of 8.8%. It's an important growth factor. And the civil investment growth is 6.8%, while manufacturing investment growth was 5.1%. It's very stable. It didn't go to a very good direction. From consumption, since the beginning of this year, the social consumption, total sales has a stable growth, but the real consumer growth in recent 3 months is decreasing from the March 10.2% reduced to 9.5% in May. So this is the first idea I have to deliver. That is to say, our nation's economic operation is good, but we cannot say that we have already into a new circulation of economic growth. Second point, I will talk about the financial affairs, because recently we just convened the National Financial Affairs. A lot of people care about it. A lot of media had an interview on me. Because of the time limit, I cannot put it in detail. I think because information are disclosed to everyone, I think the main information is two signals delivered by the National Financial Meeting. The first signal is that we should improve the financial industry service to the real economy. This is one signal. The second signal is we should prevent financial risk and improve the regulation. I hope to talk about second thing. Now the deleverage squeezing out the form and the prevention of risk had some kind of these measures had got result. We just released the first half year's data of 2017. MIR's residue is balance only 9.4%, 0.2% less than last month. Last month 9.6%. That is a historical low position. But please look at another index that is the social financing scale. All of them is over 12. Last month was 12.8%. So I have an idea. We should not only look into MR, we should also look into the social financial indexes. If we only look into MR, we should think that the social monetary liquidity is very poor. But if we look at the same time at the social financing scale, it can get a complete idea, because this can even further reflect the effect of the anti-bubble and the.
Actually, it is the support of financial system to the whole society. And it is calculated from the capital side. As for M2, is calculated from the debtors side. Some off-balance sheet of the commercial banks have slowed down their expansion, which means deleveraging in finance. For example, the off-balance sheet wealth management or other equity financing, these belong to financial institutions. So we can say that we have shrinking the interaction among the financial institutions so as to deleverage and prevent risks. So the way we do that have two goals. One is to reduce the bubbles and also to let the finance better support the real economy. In the first half of this year, the increment of the social financing is about 170,000 yuan, and we have seen year-on-year increase. It shows that the decrease of the growth of M2 is due to deleverage. So let's look at the two figures. The increment of RMB loan and also the increment of RMB in the balance sheet of commercial banks. So it shows that our support to the real economy. As for the lending to finance by the commercial banks to the funds or to the non-depository institutions, this kind of amount is included in M2, because in October 2011, we did a modification of statistics. For example, for the funds, their deposit in commercial banks is included in commercial banks. Other parts of the world also follow this kind of procedures. Mainly, these deposit institutions towards these non-depository industries, we have seen the capital is decreasing. So the deposit in commercial banks is also decreasing. And with that, the M2 is decreasing as well. But actually, our support to real economy is increasing. The growth of RMB loan is 8.2 trillion. As for the credit balance, is 7.97 trillion RMB. So based on the plans that I mentioned, we have seen many of them have negative growth. So this demonstrates our deleveraging efforts and decreasing bubbles, which is in line with the concept of the National Financial Conference. In order to help the real economy and the transformation of the economy, we need to look at one data. We have seen that in the service sector, the mid and long-term loan is increasing, and which it has increased year on year. And for high-tech technologies, the balance of loan is also increasing. All the statistics that I mentioned will be further elaborated in this afternoon. Okay. But time is limited. This is the end of my speech.